Welcome back to the Duke's Love Tales. I'm so glad you're here. If you love secrets buried in palaces, scandals they tried to erase, and women who chose freedom over a crown, you're home. Today's story: she faked her own death and lived 40 years free. If this moves you, subscribe, share it with someone who loves history, and tell me in the comments, would you have done the same? Let's begin. She didn't die, she disappeared. In the winter of 1764, all of England mourned Duchess Eleanor of Marlborough. The newspapers said she drowned in the Thames. Her husband wore black for a year, the palace closed its gates. But the Thames never gave her back, because she was never in it. This is the story of a woman who traded a crown for a lie, and won her freedom. Eleanor Hartley was born in 1739 to a merchant family in Bath. Not noble, not royal, but beautiful, educated, and sharp. At 18, she was presented at court. That's where she met Thomas Marlowe, Duke of Marlborough. He was 41, powerful, cold, and he wanted her. Their marriage in 1757 was the talk of London, a merchant's daughter becoming a duchess overnight. But palaces are not fairy tales. Within months, Eleanor learned what it meant to be owned. Her letters were read, her movements were logged, her fortune became his. In one surviving letter, she wrote to her sister, "He does not speak to me. He speaks through me. I am his signature on a contract I never read." By 1763, the Duke's control turned to fear. He believed she was conspiring with his political enemies. He threatened to have her declared hysterical and locked away. In that era, that was a life sentence. Choice no duchess was supposed to make. She would escape. She couldn't run as herself. A missing duchess meant soldiers, manhunts, scandal. But a dead duchess? That meant closure. She found one person she could trust, Margaret Cole, her lady's maid. Margaret was 27, poor and loyal. Eleanor offered her something no one else could, a new life. The plan was simple and brutal. On the night of November 12, 1764, Margaret would wear Eleanor's nightgown, her jewelry, and walk to the river. A weighted cloak, a scream, then silence. Meanwhile, the real Eleanor would leave the palace hours earlier, dressed as a governess, with papers Margaret had forged. The Duke's own cruelty gave her the idea. He had told her, obey or be ruined. So she chose ruin for him. The river was cold that night. Margaret went through with it. Her body was found 3 days later. No one questioned it. Why would they? The funeral at Westminster was massive. The Duke wept in public. Poets wrote elegies. Eleanor's name was carved in marble, but the marble was empty. Eleanor was already in Dover, then Calais, then Paris. She traveled as Mrs. Eleanor Hale, governess to a French family. She cut her hair. She sold the jewelry Margaret had smuggled out. She vanished into a world that did not know the word duchess. For the next 40 years, Eleanor taught French to merchants' daughters. She rented small rooms. She walked in public without a chaperone. She read books without permission. In 1798, a traveler from England recognized her in a Lyon market. He stared. She met his eyes and smiled. He said nothing, because by then, who would believe him? The Duchess was dead. She died in 1804, aged 65. In her room they found one thing, a locket. Inside was not a portrait. It was a scrap of paper, her handwriting. It said, "I was afraid, then I was free." History buried Eleanor. The Duke remarried. The estate passed on. No one asked why the river never kept her jewelry, until now. The Duchess Files is about the women history tried to erase. Next time, the princess who poisoned her own engagement to avoid a crown. If you want more buried secrets, follow. Because some women didn't wait to be saved. They saved themselves.